everybody. This is Carmen DeValis, and I am the founder and president of Doggies for Dementia. We are a 501c3 nonprofit with missions to raise awareness, to honor those on the dementia journey, if you will, and to talk about what they're doing so that we can help others. And a big part for people impacted by Alzheimer's and other form of dementia is that feeling of being alone in a crazy busy world, or alone in their homes. And a lot of that comes from not understanding. And therefore, we want to help teach people about dementia, all the different walk, all the different people are on such amazing journeys and do amazing things as a result of what they're facing. Today, our guest on our Experts Dig In is Jim Mangi. I know I got that right. Jim Mangi. And we were connected through some mutual friends and acquaintances. And I'm so glad, because first, let me just show off this. I got this in the mail. So I'm going to fangirl here just a little bit. This this is a calendar that created as part of the fundraiser for the wonderful things that he's doing, and it's filled with some amazing photos that his wife took, which is close to my heart, photography. And to shout out, and Jim had a whole life before he started nonprofit, which is Dementia-Friendly Saline. And well, I can't wait to dive in. I want to first welcome you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Carmen.
Yeah. So, let's begin with how you started. We were talking a little bit before, and you're saying, well, I have been what,
Yes.
because I can so relate to that. This is my second career as well. So tell us about that to start with.
Well, Carmen, my my first career was as environmental scientist. Got graduate degrees, all that kind of good stuff, and I worked as a federal contractor for lots of different federal agencies all over the country. I even owned my own consulting business, and things were going really well and learning a lot of, but no part of that first career prepared me in any way for my second career as a caregiver for my wife, who is now in the 14th year of the journey with younger onset Alzheimer's disease.
Goodness.
I was so unprepared, like so many people, so unprepared for this new career. I had never even heard of younger onset Alzheimer's disease. And because of that, in the first several years that she was, as I now know, beginning her journey with Alzheimer's, for the first several years, I had no clue what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
I thought it was something else. And then again, to some extent, since I was completely unprepared for my wife to have some sort of an incurable disease, I didn't want to admit that.
Yeah.
And the way I describe it is that I was swimming in the Egyptian river, denial.
Yes. For the very reasons who wants to face that? Who's ready? It's unfathomable, really. How old was your wife when you first started seeing, something's up?
About 57.
57.
And that is young. It is not all that rare, as I now know. About 5% of people living with Alzheimer's are under 65.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's mind-boggling. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's 57 is when you're like, okay, now time to start planning to retire and plan some trips or whatever it is you've been thinking about and looking forward to, right? to that time of your life. And
Indeed. And she, of course, eventually had to retire from her job as a federal government scientist. And
mm,
then shortly thereafter, I had to sell my company. And therefore, I was blessed that I had something to sell, that I could retire and be okay. I did
uh-huh,
that earlier than I would have otherwise. But
right.
there we were, younger than we had expected, um, on the journey. And as most people know, early on in the journey, when a person has some difficulty but can still live at home and live a decent life, we did that. Kathleen and I, we tried to live as normal a life as possible. I helped her out with things, but
Hmm.
we took trips and we took walks, went to concerts, all that sort of stuff, even though more often than not, she would not remember the concert that we went to last night. But the important thing was that she was enjoying it in the moment.
Yes.
And I learned to do exactly that, to live in
Yeah.
the moment with her.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that, Jim, because having had friends, I do have friends with earlier onset Alzheimer's. I learned to appreciate things in a different way, and in a deeper way, and experiences, if you will, it's like in full color. And you really stop and enjoy them because you're probably going to be her memory for her, which is that's a lot of responsibility to be someone's memory on their behalf. And then two, when it's over and it's done for them and they may not remember tomorrow, rehashing things and reliving it and talking about those memories, that's not a part of the experience anymore so much, right?
Caregiving is a completely different sort of perspective. And of course, I had to learn this, and it took me a while to
Yeah.
learn how to be uh, a loving caregiver instead of my traditional uptight macho fuss budget type mode.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually, I have learned to go with the flow, which is a common mantra that caretakers use,
Hmm.
and also to be very mindful, to be there. Now, these days, Kathleen no longer lives with me because it just wasn't safe. She
Hmm.
now lives in a memory support center, and I still spend a lot of time there every day, but I'm blessed to have the help of a professional team to
Right.
take care of her. But when I am there, I try to be there,
Hmm. Because that's
not
all you
think,
you have is right then,
right,
honestly. Yeah,
exactly.
it's a it's a really tough thing to I have a hard time explaining what that's like. Like stopping to see a sunset. If I saw a beautiful sunset and I was with a friend of mine and just literally like, let's pull off and let's enjoy this now,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
now. And just it changed my way of living in appreciation, and
Well,
it's such a
it,
beautiful way.
it changes one's perspective. And I would suggest, of course, caregiving is very, very difficult. It's a terribly draining, stressful experience. Been there, done that. But
Yeah.
the other dimension, the other aspect of caregiving is that it can be incredibly enriching
Hmm.
for one's relationship.
Yeah.
I have been with my wife for 47 years. Now, she would say that's far too long, uh, but our relationship has never been stronger. I love my wife more today than ever. Yes, I certainly miss her as she was. I
Yes.
love her as she is.
That's just so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I picked up on that as I'm look. I'm going to go back to fangirl on your calendar again. And so I really could. So my fans know I really don't rave on something unless I really mean it. So I had to look through every single month and read because you've got various things that Kathleen said, and
Yeah.
as well as facts and her beautiful photography, which of course, is my thing too. And it's like all my thing. And I would just had to sit and take it in because I could feel that, Jim, and what you were writing. And I thought that's just it was just so moving to me. Just so moving. Yeah. As is when I started to read more about what you're doing there. And I know that's as a direct result of becoming a caregiver, yes?
Yes, indeed. Um, of course, there was a time when my entire my entire day, 24/7, was focused completely on taking care of Kathleen and giving her the best quality of life as possible. But as I said a moment ago, there came a time when when I had a near stroke, and we realized on the way to the hospital, I was the one on the gurney, that I could not safely continue to take care of Kathleen alone
Mhm.
anymore for both of our sakes.
Right.
So that was the precipitating moment. And of course, every family is different, every situation is different. But
Mhm.
I had the ability and the availability of a good memory care center. So Kathleen now is under the care of a memory care center. As I said a moment ago, I am still her caregiver, but yes, it does enable me to have some time to do some other things. So she, Kathleen, is my inspiration for setting up Dementia-Friendly Saline, a little nonprofit that works on a whole bunch of different programs, including trying to educate our little town here about dementia and getting businesses and organizations and churches to learn about the difficulties that a person living in the community has, and how stores and restaurants and libraries and churches and all that can interact with people living with dementia in ways that make things less difficult
Mhm.
for the person living with dementia. So we're making a lot of progress with that and several other programs that we're running.
Several other too, because that's a huge one right there, dementia friendly.
Yeah.
I'm going to hear about that too. I love the whole idea of this because one of the challenges is that when you have dementia, you want to also fit in and to feel like you're not separated and differentiated and or stigmatized, yeah, and you're not placed outside where, especially when you're an active part of the community and now people are going to look at you different. At the same time, as the as dementia progresses and your cognitive ability changes, you don't want to miss out on some of the fun things. And with people do know how to properly and respectfully address and protect, even then that changes that whole dynamic. It's
Yes, indeed.
there's a real fine line there, but the education is the key thing.
Well, for example, when we talk to a store, a retail store, we tell folks, in the employees of the store, that one of the difficulties that a person living with dementia might have is the difficulty of, frankly, remembering to pay. They
Yes.
might walk out of the store with some merchandise. It happens. So
Hmm.
we ask the folks in the store, don't immediately call the police and 911 and the FBI and all that. Try try to deal with the situation respectfully.
Hmm.
Most of the time, the person has had short-term memory issues, difficulty with negotiating the process of paying,
Right.
so they are not intending to steal. So
Hmm.
once we make people aware of the kinds of difficulties that a person living with dementia has, then our experience has been that the retailers and the servers in the restaurant and the folks in a church or a government agency, they say, oh,
Oh,
okay,
uh-huh.
we can work with that. We can
Right.
help these folks in a way that is not that is respectful.
Hmm.
Now,
Absolutely. Yeah.
now,
And so important because I know this goes underlooked, that um, people are stopped and arrested, or are like people maybe will crowd around them and like, "Hey,
yeah,
you didn't pay," and it's scary.
yes,
And then the response is out of fear and might agitated and like, what, like, who knows who that is? And if you can imagine not knowing who's coming at you or why, and then it escalates. And even as a nurse practitioner, I would get calls from families that go, "Hey, mom got arrested. Can you
yeah,
please help us and tell them what the situation is?" And even calling and talking about that, I mean, we're talking maybe 6, 7 years ago, or 8 even now, it still wasn't. So, I met with some resistance with that because people didn't understand,
right. And
really.
we're trying to increase the awareness in the community. But
Yeah.
you mentioned something else a moment ago, Carmen, the idea that folks living with dementia still want to and still deserve the opportunities to just have some fun.
Yes.
So, so that's why one of our other programs is called a memory cafe. Now, we run a monthly event that is part social, part entertainment, part education for persons living with dementia and their caregivers, families, and friends.
Mhm.
So typically, like the cafe that we're running, it's a monthly event. We're doing it tomorrow. It's held, it's hosted by one of the local churches that has a nice big parish hall.
Mhm.
We're going to have live entertainment. We're going to have storytelling, story sharing. We've got food. And we always have a large buffet of information, a great big table full of literature from the likes of the Alzheimer's Association, National Institutes of Health, and various other sources of good, reliable information.
Uh-huh.
Now we offer this memory cafe in person. We love to have about 40 people in the room. We also offer it by Zoom. It's done hybrid style, and we use multiple cameras and microphones so that folks joining us on Zoom can see and hear what's going on in the room. And we even
Yeah.
have a great big TV so that people in the room can see who's joining us on Zoom.
Mhm.
So it is a good opportunity, a social connection,
Yeah.
education opportunity that we're very happy to be able to do.
So, so important. I had one point I interviewed, well, I still do talk with so many people and did interviews for a book, and the feeling of isolation and being alone, even when others are around, but really actually alone at home, way pre-COVID time frame, was like the common thread, and it was devastating. It
Yes.
was huge, devastating, and uh, like felt throughout, whether by caregivers alone or caregiver and the person with dementia. And so, what is so simple is really so important.
So our cafe is called the Come As You Are Memory Cafe.
Ah,
Yeah, come as you
very
are,
clever, very clever, Jim.
however you are.
Yes.
And kind of the underlying theme that we always try to get across is that no one, no person, no family ever has to deal with dementia alone.
Hmm. Hmm. So I know memory cafes and similar type things are in other communities. That dementia friendly Saline. We have people listening from all over the world. And interestingly, I spoke with a nurse in Scotland who has a similar program in the Kingdom of Fife, Fife, and kind of put something similar together with, I think, a group of 5 or 6 with earlier onset Alzheimer's, and work to help make so that people could go do their shopping and walk around the town and get out, and that it was safe.
Yes.
Safer for sure. I would love to know, because I know we've got people listening and saying, how do we do that in our community, whether it's the whole town or it's the part of their community? How did you start? How did you begin?
Okay. There is an organization, a national network called Dementia-Friendly America.
Mm-hmm.
And I will shout out to our friends in Europe and especially in the UK. They're ahead of us in doing dementia-friendly
Yes.
communities. What we're doing here actually began in the state of Minnesota and it's spread. Um, but here, Dementia Friendly America has a lot of good information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is how to start. But I'd also invite anybody listening to go ahead and contact me through Dementia Friendly Saline,
Mm-hmm.
dfsaline.org, real simple. Contact me and you can see what Dementia Friendly America has. It's good stuff. But if you want to talk to a person who's done it, go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and contact me.
Yeah.
Happy to help anybody through the process. It's not very hard
Yeah.
to get it done.
It's not. Yeah. I so love the idea, and I know that whether it's a direct caregiver or I've spoken with many people in their 20s or 30s and who will say like my grandfather, my grandmother, or they lost someone to dementia and they're like, I just don't know what can I do? What can I do? And
Well,
I just need to create a more loving, compassionate world. It begins with the neighborhood, right?
right. Well,
Yeah.
several ideas I throw out there. Um, as I said, trying to start a dementia-friendly community is a really, really good idea. It works really well in the smaller communities. New York, Los Angeles, Denver, you might have some challenges there just from an organizational point of view. But
Mhm.
Saline is 8,000 people, and the mayor and most of the city council have, gotten completely aboard on that.
Mhm.
That's one thing. Another thing to do is to do something like become a community educator for an organization like the Alzheimer's Association. There are several such organizations. Alzheimer's Association, again, another
Mhm.
nonprofit. It's bigger than yours and mine
Yeah.
together. Carmen.
Way
Uh,
bigger.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, they do really good stuff in
Mhm.
terms of they have a large cadre of volunteers,
Uh-huh.
community educators who provide the various classes that the
Yeah.
Alzheimer's Association offers. They're always free. There's a curriculum of about a dozen different classes. And when I'm not wearing my dementia-friendly Saline hat,
Mhm.
I wear my Alzheimer's Association volunteer hat and I deliver classes. We're talking about things like the 10 warning signs, about understanding Alzheimer's, about effective communication strategies, about dealing with difficult behaviors. These
Mhm.
are all good, useful classes, and they're all like in 45 minutes, an hour or
Yeah.
so. So the Alzheimer's Association is pretty strong across the country,
Yes.
and they will always welcome people coming forward and there's no huge commitment.
Mhm.
If you want to teach 2 classes a month, that's fine. If you
Yeah.
want to teach 1 class a month, if you want to teach like I do, 10 or 15 classes a month, yeah, that's fine too.
You're not an
But
overachiever, Jim.
nah,
No, you might be
my,
president of the club. I think I'm vice president.
my
Um,
my daughter says I'm flunking retirement. I don't know why she says
Me too. Me too.
that.
Completely. I think I'm busier. I don't even like the word busy. I think I'm accomplishing a lot more. And I was full time, 40 years, a nurse practitioner, and um, full long days. But I am way more. Always have more to do. It never ends. You know how it is, and a nonprofit too, and a for-profit business. And I think I don't really see retirement as and I don't think I ever did, but as a goal for me, because I just love what I do so much. I am like, why? I
Well,
could
I'm
find a way to still have fun and travel, but I don't see stopping.
well like you. I feel the need to keep doing some useful things.
Mhm.
And yes, to some extent, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable in the sense that it's rewarding. You
Mhm.
and I both feel that we are making a difference. It's hard work. You're working hard. I'm working hard.
Mhm.
So it's not quite as much fun as kicking back on the back deck or going fishing, but
No.
it's good, rewarding work because we are making a difference for
Mhm.
people who are living with dementia and for their caregivers. They're in a situation they didn't ask for. They're in a
Mhm.
situation that we can't completely fix. Not yet. We don't
Mhm.
have a cure for any of these.
No.
But what we can do is we can make life a little bit better for the person with dementia and for their caregivers. We can't cure dementia, but we can fix ignorance.
Mhm. Oh, I love that, Jim. Yeah, absolutely. And when it's a crisis, it's an emotional, financial, physical crisis for our country, and millions upon millions are impacted, often very silently impacted, trying to juggle career or end of career unexpectedly, and financially managing. How do you take care of someone lovingly and compassionately the way you want to, or be their spouse or their daughter or their son? And how do you do that and be a caregiver too? Very, th- it, that is not easily said or done.
Well, I
Um,
think what we are seeing and what we are trying to make happen, uh, you, Carmen, also
mhm,
trying to make happen is um, an awareness that, in retrospect, we should have seen this coming because baby boomers like me, we're getting
mhm,
into the
mhm.
prime age range
Yes.
for Alzheimer's. And the baby boom bulge has been visible in our population, since the 1940s. We
Uh-huh.
didn't we didn't fully anticipate that it was going to be this bad. In fact, it's going to be worse. Um, there are 6.5 million Americans living with Alzheimer's today. We
Mhm.
think that's probably an underestimate.
Yes.
When you count caregivers, roughly 2 to 1,
Yes.
it works out to be about 5% of the US population is dealing with dementia, either in themselves or as caregivers. Five
Mhm.
out of 100 people are dealing with dementia. And those absolute numbers are going up, and
Mhm.
probably the proportion is going up,
Mhm.
even just demographically. But
Right.
what we're not sure of, but many experts think that we will see in the coming years the delayed effects of the stress that you were talking about before, the
Mhm.
stress of 2+ years of the pandemic.
Mhm.
Not that COVID causes Alzheimer's, no, but the stress, the isolation
Yes.
associated with dealing with this pandemic may show up as somewhat increased levels of dementia in the future. We don't know that for sure, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
many
no,
people think so.
yeah, no doubt the and still, but I'll just talk about the last 2 years is just an emotionally crushing in some way for just about everybody. And there's always going to be some kind of time to heal from that. And that if you are like that post-traumatic stress, not to diagnose that per se, but there's stress as you heal from the trauma of all of it. Like, you get through what you have to get through. Same thing for caregivers.
Yeah.
You get through what you have to get through. You just keep your eye on the today's the day. I'm going to take care of today, the next day. But then when that comes to an end with either, your loved one passes, you get more help, or you seek long-term care if you're capable of doing that. And caregivers are left kind of like, well, what now? I've been on this hamster wheel now for years, and what do I do now? And as that kind of sounds like, well, of course you're going to rest to do, but oh no, because when your mind and your body and your whole calendar, if you will, is built on this really fast pace and a lot of fear, it doesn't end overnight.
No,
It
quite
doesn't
right.
end overnight. And I find that many caregivers then take it and go, you know what, if I could then do something good from this experience and help others who like maybe a lot of will say, I saw a need back then, and I'm going to answer that need now so that others don't go through what I did. And it's,
Well, we are trying to do, everything along those lines that we can think of. We have
yeah.
started a program called Compassionate Companions. And this will be, it's not completely up yet, but it will be a cadre of volunteers who will be companions for caregivers, offering advice, offering maybe some sort of coaching, but just as much as anything else, a sympathetic ear,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
strong shoulder to lean on,
Yeah.
and just someone, a companion to be on the journey with the caregiver.
A
Because,
companion who understands
yes, exactly.
that. Yes, yes. And I love that. And that's a big part of why raising awareness, right? Raising awareness is saying we're going to educate on the real facts, not the things you may hear, which may or may not be true. And let's talk about the real stuff of it, good and bad. And because I think the less fear there is, the more compassion there can be. And so compassionate companions. I love that. It's for the caregivers who
Right.
are often invisible.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Now,
Yeah.
talk about raising awareness. We are very excited up here that we have approached our commercial movie chain that operates here in Saline, Michigan, and five other in 5 states up here in the upper Midwest. They have embraced the idea of dementia-friendly movie screenings. This will be a theater, one of the whatever 14 theaters in the house, a theater specifically dedicated for this dementia-friendly showing. And the deal will be, we'll keep the lights on, we'll keep the sound down,
Mm-hmm.
and we will encourage folks, especially if we're showing a classic musical,
Mm-hmm.
think Singing in the Rain,
Mm-hmm.
or Oklahoma. We're going to encourage people not only go ahead and talk, but go ahead and
And
sing,
sing. Yeah.
sway, tap your feet, get up and dance, for goodness sakes, have a good
Yeah.
time. And it will be, again, like our memory cafes, it'll be everybody there
Yeah.
gets it.
Yeah. Yes.
It will be a party, an event. We're going to have a booklet explaining the movie. We're going to have a discussion about the movie, not detailed trivia, but nice, interesting things to know
Yeah.
about the movie. We're going to have food, and this was our idea. And what I'm trying to report here is that the movie chain has absolutely embraced the idea, so much so that they've pretty much taken ownership of it. That's great.
Yes.
They want to run with it. They
Yeah.
want to do something. They're not tolerating us doing it. They want to run the program. Great. Happy to
Excellent.
have that happen.
Wow. Wow. See, now I'm ready to move to Michigan now because I was born
Well,
there actually, but it was a long,
well,
long time ago.
this chain, the corporate guys that I've been talking to have said every time we talk, they said, we want Saline, Michigan to be the pilot
Mm-hmm.
for our entire chain.
Uh-huh.
So, we think this idea is going to take off because, of course, every part of the country has, people living with dementia who would probably enjoy an opportunity to
Yeah.
go to the movies, but
Yes.
not be intimidated.
Right.
We're even going to have guides and greeters, kind of quasi valet parking. We'll have a greeter at the curb
Yeah.
so that the person with dementia can get out of the car, wait with the greeter, that the driver can go and park the car. but
Uh-huh.
then the person with dementia will be safe at the entrance to the theater, and then
Yeah.
the greeter, the guide, will take them into the theater, make sure they get to the right particular theater, and they'll
Mhm.
stand by during the show to help folks get to the right restroom and get back to the right
Mhm.
theater.
Yeah.
We'll have valet parking for walkers, you know,
Mhm.
you know, so, we're trying to
Yes.
think this whole program through and make it a
Yeah.
completely enjoyable experience for persons living with dementia and their caregivers.
And their caregivers. That's incredible. Obviously, I hear the value and how much fun that would be for all involved. And we're thinking the person with dementia to be able to go and enjoy, be with others, and to be themselves, come as you
Right,
are, right? To
right,
be
exactly.
themselves, and it's okay. And um, from the caregiver point of view, to know that you can go and have this experience and it is going to be okay no matter what happens, right?
That's exactly
Because
right.
there you can come as you are, and that is a big worry for many caregivers because sometimes things can happen unexpectedly or comments made that, and if someone doesn't understand what's happening, is kind of a lot of stares at or comments, and or a caregiver feels like they need to apologize or to hand the card that says, my loved one has dementia, what have you. But this would just be, let's just go relax, and it is going to be okay no matter what. That,
Have a good time. Yeah,
what a blessing. And that alone that is huge to be able to do that.
yeah.
Huge.
We
Mhm.
think it's going to be very successful. And one thing I wanted to mention, that in everything that we're doing, Dementia-Friendly Saline, uh, part of the team, Dementia-Friendly Saline, does include persons who are themselves living with dementia, not
Mhm.
just caregivers like
Yeah.
me. So, on the
Yeah.
principle of nothing about us without us,
Uh-huh.
we are trying to make sure that we incorporate and reflect the views of persons themselves living
Yes.
with dementia.
Yeah, yes, because otherwise we want everyone included, right?
Right.
And to do something for people without their input is just perpetuating that lack of respect and compassion that we're talking about. I think, in my eyes, that's how I see that.
And
Um,
of course, doing that, it's the best we can do. But as I said before, there are 6.5 million Americans living with dementia, and therefore there
mhm.
are approximately 6.5 million individual stories.
Yes.
So there's no way we can completely and perfectly accommodate every person's interest. But we
Hmm.
want to, as you said, we want to demonstrate the respectfulness of
Yeah.
doing that, because it is so important. It is central to our thinking to
Hmm.
recognize that every person living with dementia, even far along in the journey as my wife is, will always be exactly that, a person.
Person. Hmm.
They are losing abilities. My wife can no longer use a fork. She can no longer walk. She can virtually no longer talk, but she can still smile.
Hmm.
And she is still the person that I fell in love with a long time ago.
Hmm. Hmm. Jim, it is such a pleasure chatting with you. What I think is we need to gather some people interested in photo sessions with their dogs and doggies for dementia. And like I always say, all I have to do is mention to my husband, I'm thinking about going to visit, and he's already got the car packed, ready to go. Like he knows what gear, he knows exactly what to pack. And because one of my favorite things is just to go and to meet people that I've met virtually but never in person, and it's just incredible experience.
Well, if you can ever make the significantly long journey to Saline, Michigan,
Yeah.
little tiny town. We're right near Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a lovely university town. So I
Yes,
guarantee you'll be welcome up here. We'd love to have you.
that could
Uh,
totally happen. Well, I'm going to Illinois in September, so that's quite possible.
well, yeah, think about it. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great. That would be great.
yeah, I would love that. We are going to include the links to all the wonderful things that you've been talking about on both on the YouTube description as well as on the blog. But I want you to say the website again for
We are Dementia-Friendly Saline, DF Saline, SALINE, dfsaline.org.
.org. Okay, dfsaline.org. And I know I'm not the only one, just kind of just so impressed. And yeah, you've just made my day because just really you have. I mean, not only are we fellow overachievers, but to see a problem, you see a problem and then just say, what can we do? And start making those steps. And these things don't come easy. It's a lot of work. It's collaboration. It's joining with other people and talking about it. And you know, and for you, I know that this is like lit from this love you have for your wife and for your lives together, and just yeah, just in awe there.
Well, I have very much appreciated the opportunity to visit with you. I've enjoyed meeting you. And if some of what we have discussed here today is helpful to some folks out there, then this has certainly been time very well spent. And I'm happy, as I said, if folks want to contact me through the Dementia-Friendly Saline, happy to answer further questions, maybe provide some ideas and suggestions. But I thank you, Carmen, for the opportunity to be here today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. So put your comments in there, send some love. You know how to find me. You know how to find Jim, and get the wheels turning. See what you can do to create. I always say we're working to create a more loving, compassionate, and kind world. You know, one story, one person at a time, and one image. And so thank you so much. And we will see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Very good. Very good.